What's up, guys? Studfit here. We just finished our tour reaction video to the Peach versus Bowser tour about 2 hours ago. But since then, we just got this hot off the press, our daily spotlight shop for the Peach versus Bowser tour. Huge shout out to Sam78IT. This was just released moments ago in his toolbox. Wanted to get this information to you as quickly as possible. So you see everything on the screen. These are all the items that will show up in your spotlight shop this tour. You'll also notice some ruby colored Studfit logos across the screen. I selected 10 drivers, 10 carts, and 10 gliders that might make sense for a newer player to invest in, or if you're an established player, or relying on trackers and spreadsheets, which I always recommend people doing. Take a look to see, and just a helpful nudge to see if these might pair well with the things you've already invested in. So for all of these, there's a high chance you'll probably see these almost guaranteed throughout the 2 weeks. There's a normal chance. These are a little bit harder to see, but all these items are used and ranked. And then you have a low chance. These are really, really low, about 2%. It might make sense for you to save rubies for Gold Charging Chuck, but there's a good chance you probably won't see him. I don't think I've seen him since the new Spotlight Shop was introduced, but let's dive into it. So for drivers, first off, if you like Coinbox as the skill, don't ignore this list. You can just get Coinbox and you'll be probably doing really, really well. There are some players who like boomboxing. Boomboxing is where you are using a boomerang driver, getting a boomerang frenzy, while a bot is getting a Coinbox. It is one of the highest score potentials, but it also is extremely rare and takes a lot of time to get that. So if you like boomboxing, certainly you don't even need my input. You can just get some boomerang drivers. It does take a long time. I always kind of suggest maybe having one boomerang bang driver, and once in a while having a boomerang driver to have the fun doing the boombox skill and enjoying the fun skill. However, it gets exhausting. So I don't always recommend people going too heavy in it unless they really have a lot of time on their hands, which who has a lot of that. So I will say I do have two boomerang drivers here in the high chance. Kangaroo Yoshi, he's back-to-back ranked when it comes to last tour and this tour, and Petey Piranha is still hitting his peak. So they're both highly recommend there. I had Tuxedo and Kamek on the fringe, but I think their peak is well gone, and a lot of the drivers that have a wider hitbox have taken over some of their tracks. I'm not making them obsolete, but I think for a newer player, it might make sense to invest more into Kangaroo Yoshi or into Petey Piranha. Moving into the medium chance, White Tanuki Mario. If you love Giant Banana, a lot of people do. He's one of the most fun drivers and especially for a newer player. It's an easy way to get good action counts, and a banana action is always higher than a coin. So if you have high action count tracks with 200 or more action counts, you're actually going to score higher with a banana. So highly recommend him. Luigi Knight, he's a little newer, but I think he's peaking really well. And I think from taking into consideration our top 10, taking into consideration movers and shakers, and some other criteria, I think he's a good one to invest in early. That I think will pay off later. And my son has a tier 30, 35 account. So I know exactly what this is like. You only get to choose, you only get really one high-end item out of the Spotlight Shop per tour. And a lot of times people are going to get Mii's anyway. So, you could, the Luigi Knight's debatable, but I think it's certainly, he's peaking and he's still early in his career. They'll still probably get some good new tracks as they come out. Now, DK Jr. SNES. Some might, this is on the fringe as well, but I decided to include him. He has 3 DK Mountains. DK Mountain is back this tour. And I think for a lot of people, he gives you some really good coverage. So for newer drivers, kind of as a Giant Banana light, he gives you some really good coverage and a funner-ish skill to use. There's a lot of times where you're still getting a coin frenzy and after getting your triple banana, but I still think he's worth, at least for the coverage alone. So Shy Guy Ninja, he's much older. He came out in the same tour as the King Bob-omb Gold, who you don't see with the Ruby on here. But he pairs really well with a lot of drivers, and I think when it comes to coverage and when it comes to what he can bring to your account, I think it's worth putting on this list. But again, you could switch him out with Kamek or Tuxedo Mario or Gold King Bob-omb, depending on if you like Coinbox more. But just to give you a high level, I think he's a solid one to pair well with what you have. Meowser probably, outside of Gold Charging Chuck, he's probably the #1 driver I'd put on this list. I still feel like if you see Gold Charging Chuck, just get him. I hope you have 150 rubies because he's well worth it. But Meowser's right there. With my son's account, I got Meowser last tour, and it's surprisingly how much more coverage you have on some of these tours with Meowser. And then Pink Shy Guy Ninja, he's great with Giant Banana as well. His coverage is much more solidified than White Tanuki Mario. Strong addition to your account. And also included Gold Yoshi there on the bottom alongside Gold Charging Chuck. Both of these drivers came out this year, still getting some leftover coverage and exciting coin box drivers. Moving into carts, again, you can only pick 10. There's so many more carts than even drivers and gliders. But the yellow-green capsule, there's been a top 10 cart for quite some time, but doesn't have the largest hitbox. So you're really trying to get it for the coverage, and it's got some really good coverage from 2022 tracks. The Piranha Pipes. This is similar. It's a little bit bigger than the green yellow capsule cart, but it's not super large. It's above average, and that's okay. Some people take a lot of stock into carts, in which case you don't necessarily have to look at this list. You just get whatever large carts that you see are large. But I do think its coverage is really unique, and obviously this tour it's coming in handy. That's for sure. We also have the Jukebox Buggy, the Magna Broom. I have the Green Cat Cat Cruiser, the Strawberry Soft Swerve, my Shielded Speedster, the Silver King, and the Red Off-Roader. The oldest on this list, obviously the Silver King. I had someone ask today in our live stream if it was worth getting. I still think that the Silver King brings a lot of coverage, especially to a newer account. You might be wondering where it lack, because it might lack some of the new 2022 tracks, but still a solid pairing with a lot of what you have. Then on the very, very bottom, I included our first gold cart of this series. This is the Gold Bullet Blaster. It's actually, despite its size, got pretty good coverage, especially considering it's a gold cart, which we know has traditionally not had great coverage, but we'll see if that changes this year. As it seems, and my prediction is we'll see a gold version of every single cart family. That's my prediction. It'll probably take the next year, but it will happen. It seems like every month it's a new gold pass reward. And then finally moving into gliders. We have the Candlelight Flight, Wonderful Wings. These two have no explanation needed. These have been top 5 gliders all year round. And honestly, each one was in the top 10 for quite some time. Wonderful Wings might be the best glider on this list. There's one hot one that I'd put over it, which would be the 8-bit 1-Up Mushroom. I think that one for any account would be I highly recommend getting it and investing in it. It's really, really strong and really, really strong right now. This is like, it is his peak. However, Wonderful Wings still riding high off of his laurels and still getting great buffs too. So I think those are really the top 2 options for gliders. Highly recommend those. The Wicked Topaz and the Piranha Plant Balloons, both really strong gliders that are seeing some good buffs still. We'll see. I think even Piranha Plant Balloons still peaking out outside on top of the Wicked Wings if you have to pick between the two. Moving down into the normal chances, I have the Green Cat Parafoil. I already mentioned the 1-Up Mushroom and the Mint and Berry Balloons, and the Black Star Shoot. The Black Star Shoot was in our top 10 2 tours ago. It fell to, I think, 11 last tour. I'm sure it'll be back in our top 10 this tour. It got a nice little buff. The one sneaky one I put on here is the Cream Toe Beam Balloons. It's actually ranked number 16. It jumped up, I think, 25 spots last tour. So I kind of put it on the sneaky. I don't think it was on a lot of people's radar, but I do expect it to maybe get into the top 10 here soon. I was not expecting that after the coming out of the Cat Tour, but it's doing really well and kind of worth a sneaky stash. But again, not for everybody. I highly recommend if you don't have the 1-Up Mushroom or the Wonderful Wings, get that. And then the Golden Wings, certainly a wonderful glider, the only gold glider I have on here. But I think looking at the total list, I think if you somehow can get Meowser or Gold Charging Chuck for the drivers, I highly recommend that. Shielded Speedster, even the Yellow Off-Roader might be the top 2 that I'd include in that list. Don't even snub at the Silver King. And then for the gliders, I think it has to be Wonderful Wings with 1-Up Mushroom on the list as well. So there you go, guys. That's the Daily Spotlight Shop and some 10 recommendations of each category that might be worth researching on your account. But I'll see you on the rundown. The goal is to hopefully record that by the end of the week and have that to you Saturday morning. I'll let you know if there's any delay. But thanks again for enjoying this series. Let me know if you disagree with any of these selections. Would love to hear your feedback. I can certainly change these between now and the rundown, but wanted to get this information in your hands as soon as possible. So until the rundown, may the frenzy luck be with you.